5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the third episode of the Fill the Bucket podcast. It is great to be back, week 3, feeling more confident, feeling really excited of the Saturday that was UFC. Crazy fight, I think 229. I'm not the biggest UFC fan, but I definitely watched last night, and whew, do I have some opinions on that. The Maple Leafs are in full swing. Raptors are getting ready to get going. NHL is back. NBA's coming back. NFL's in the full swing. What a time to be a sports fan. To my fellow Canadians, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the turkey. Get fat. Get a little fatter. Get a little notches on the belt and enjoy. And if you do it like I do, I celebrate the American Thanksgiving as well, so it's going to be double the fun. We got like I said, a good episode on tap today. Gonna recap the Khabib-Conor fight and after fight. Gonna get into a little bit of Maple Leaf talk. How they're looking after 2 weeks. How the prognosis is for the team. And just overall my opinions on what I've seen so far from the team and what's going on. Also, of course, a little football talk. So, jam-packed show. Gonna keep it nice and condensed, as I'm sure everybody wants to enjoy their Sunday. So let's get right into it. Last night, a UFC mega fight took place, as it was Conor McGregor going up against Khabib, and I'm not even gonna try and say his last name. Wow. What else? What else is there to say? Khabib dominated that fight. There's no other way to put it. Aside from round 3, which at most you could make the argument went to Conor, was a dominating performance. And then what happened after occurred. And I've been on the fence both ways about how I'm feeling about what happened and what occurred in the post-fight. And for me, I can understand maybe why someone is coming off such an adrenaline high. This man has talked about your family, talked about your religion, talked about where you're from, and gone to your home and disrespected you there. I can see the high of that. And it being, no, this isn't selling a fight. And I'm not the biggest UFC fan, but from what I've read and what I've done in my research, Khabib is a fighter of principle. So I understand a little bit why he loses his mind when someone's talking smack after all the disrespect. And then he just slapped up, choked out, and made tap the man that had been saying this. Well, to him, everyone else, if I didn't let this man out with a free pass, I'm damn sure not letting his team out with a free pass. So I understood it. But I also understand the other side that, there's this argument being made that, well, Conor did this and Conor did that, and well, this is nothing compared to what Conor did, but it's practically both people did a real crappy thing, and we're just talking about the levels of crappiness that it was. I think it's important to realize that both shouldn't have happened. I think when you're in that business, and I've never been in an octagon. You know, you play wrestle when you're young, and you play fight and you slap box, but I've never been in the octagon, so I can only imagine the adrenaline and the feeling. But if you play a sport, you kind of realize what that person may be going through. I, I would harken back to when I would play football and just someone talking smack and that adrenaline of, okay, I'm going to show you, buddy, and after the game it's still being there. I don't want to shake this person's hand. Now, good sportsmanship calls for you to do that, but if I don't like that person, why if that person made me feel disrespected, must I respect them at the end because it's all said and done? And that's a great symbolic way of how the world is. You just don't get to wipe your hands if you've done crappy things to somebody. You need to own that. And I think that's where Khabib was coming. The fight in general, you can tell the big feel. You could tell it was a big hype fight. I will say this, when Conor came out and I was texting my brother, who's a huge Conor mark, uh, I was saying he's walking like Conor. He's got the strut, he's got that, but you can see it in his face. That confidence that I'm gonna knock this man out, confidence was not there. Which leads me to wonder, did he know that I'm biting off a big chunk here? Uh, this man is a bad dude, right? Like, is grappling. And early on, I know people were fearful of what was occurring. The grapple, the takedown, held him down for 5 minutes. In a 5 minute round, held him down for 4 minutes of that. Easy. Uh, and I'm someone, because I appreciated what Floyd Mayweather's boxing acumen was, I felt that was surgical in that sense for Khabib. He was being surgical in how. But that second round, boy, when he started pounding, you could tell each punch was with hate and malice, and he hated that man. He was seeing red the whole time. Credit to Conor. I thought he's going to get punched out. Third round was a little closer. Conor came alive, feeding off that crowd, feeding off that energy. And then the fourth, Khabib just got him there, and you could tell. Conor was trying to grab the cage. Conor was using his feet. Conor was an animal who you could tell he was gonna get caught. And it's like the last outlaw, staying for their last rodeo, so to speak. So I understand uh how things could escalate like that. I truly do. But it's such a shame because it's really taking away. And I'm hearing these analysts talk, and they're great analysts. They've forgotten more about sports and things than most people have, including myself, definitely in MMA and UFC based things. But come on, you guys were there. Chael Sonnen was enraged, but the things he said about Anderson Silva early in his day, and the animosity that he's built in his fights. Come on, Tyrone Woodley. He's going to be fighting a guy in Kobe Covington, potentially, that is equally, you can say, got under the skin of Woodley the way Conor did Khabib. And make no mistake, Conor won the psychological pre-fight because that was not a Khabib. But it just turns out that Khabib's anger and rage actually propelled him to a level that people hadn't seen in quite a while, if ever, for this fighter. That just, I'm coming to take his face off, as they said. So it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same Conor McGregor. He was trying to play the part, and it's a lot different. Your training, I feel, your passion. It's like anything. When you have a little bit of extra money, well, your motivation isn't equally as there, if you think about it. So he's got $100 million. I don't even got 100,000, 100 cents. Well, I got 100 cents, but you get the gist. It's just sometimes that motivation just isn't there. So I think it's just something good card overall. Again, I'm not the biggest UFC. Um, I got to see Derek Lewis, and I believe that's his name. Apologize if I got it wrong, but Derek Lewis, that guy's a character, man. Some of the things he said I didn't necessarily agree with, but in his post fight, they asked him, "What are you gonna do?" I'm just gonna get on top of my wife, put her legs up. Now that's just keeping it real, and that knockout, and you can feel the punches when heavyweights fight. Oh my goodness, like it hurts. Like kudos to those that fight in that heavyweight division, because my goodness, the impact of some of those shots is just it's insane. Like I was fearful a couple of times. Uh, the two ladies had a great fight, and the Pettis Ferguson fight. Oh, you wish that it could go one more round. You wish. Um, I think the Ferguson Khabib fight is definitely what needs to be up next. I think that's a potential to draw big numbers, and maybe he's people. Many people are a fan. He's done a lot for the sport, but sometimes I can't stand Dana White. Uh, it's just you're the again, and this might be a case of another guy that cashed a big check, and he doesn't have to be invested to everyone anymore. I feel he's sometimes the president in as a figurehead because he picks his boys and he latches on to them. Right? John Jones has been given chance after chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. Connor, same thing. And I understand they're bringing you big ratings, but don't always go after something crazy happens and says, "Oh, I can't believe it. This is disappointing. I'm so disappointed. I'm sick to my stomach." You put substantial suspensions, fines, whatever, in place. And I know there's the Nevada State Commission that also oversees that. But the penalties have to be bigger. They have to. And that may mean one of your big fighters getting booked in it and it having to be that for a lesson to be learned. So honestly, awesome fight. As a guy that's just a casual fan, I really enjoyed it. I really appreciated all that came with that. And like anything, uh, I don't agree with Khabib's guys going over and sucker punching McGregor. That wasn't cool. Uh, from a fan perspective, you don't want people to get hurt. But I'm actually not as upset about Khabib going to. He knows the man is a fighter. It's not like he went to a fan that doesn't know the art of it, doesn't know anything of it, and just kicked his ass. Pardon my language. I try not to swear on this podcast. So I, I'm not as upset about that. What I am upset about is people condoning it in the sense of a comparison. If you feel he did nothing wrong, just say that. But don't go into the whole, oh, well, he did it, so, my guy can do it. No, it was two both did crappy things, and let's own that. And if you're okay with one of the crappy things, that's not a problem. But I think it's important to own that, and to make sure that you are, uh, just own it. Nothing else to say on that. But great night for UFC. Um, and yeah, moving on to NHL. Ooh, week one, so to speak, of hockey. Uh, big year for Toronto sports teams in general. But real big year for the Leafs as they signed John Tavares out of New York, hometown boy. I think everybody uh, knows the story, knows knows that he came home. This notion that he took a pay cut is incorrect. He is making 16 million, I think, in real money. So I think we can say he didn't really take a pay cut. But nonetheless, they got a solid team coming. I think to those that are overreacting after 2 games, win or lose, in this fan base, we have a habit of doing that. And people look at it and say, "Oh, it's Leaf fans being Leaf fans," but you got to understand the Toronto sports culture. If you're anywhere 30 and under, maybe and even older, uh, you don't know what a lot of success looks like. If you're 30 or under, you don't remember 1993 and 1992 when the Jays won a World Series or two and the Leafs should have gotten to the Stanley Cup Finals. You don't remember that unless you do research. Now, what you do remember is lots of losing seasons. The Raptors being a joke for a long time. The Blue Jays not making the playoffs for 20 years, which is why we celebrate a manager who was a 500, who had a 500 record, but that's neither here nor there. So you gotta understand that fan base, they haven't experienced winning. It's no different than the Cubs. You're acting fans to know how to take things. Well, they're always taking things as if how they've seen it. You can only go off what your history is, and in this case, the history is a team that struggled, but they've come out the gate. They're 1-1. The first game looked real sloppy. You could tell the nerves. Uh, Against Ottawa, they were the better team again. Good Freddie Anderson, bad Freddie Anderson. When Freddie Anderson is good, he can steal you games. When he's bad, he's a liability. I truly believe, and they're as much firepower as they have. They are only going to go as far as the goaltending takes them because their defense is shoddy. So you know they're going to give up shots. I think last night they played a pretty defensively sound game. Odaganov, I call him Odaganov because of a show that I listen to, Overdrive on TSN. They call him that. So Odaganov gets beat. That's a rookie thing. That happens. Uh, I was interested in the goalie pads. You're seeing a lot of them going roof shoulder, which apparently they changed the equipment, but they looked a lot better. Craig Anderson just played a heck of a game. I think it's gonna take time. It's like any quote unquote super team that gets together. Everyone thought the Miami Heat were gonna run through the league, the Philadelphia Eagle dream team. It doesn't always happen like that. It's gonna take time. Players are gelling. There is William Nylander that still hasn't signed. And please, to those that are listening, and if you're a hockey fan, please do let me know what you think about the William Nylander situation because I've read a lot of things on Twitter, but honestly, uh, it's gone pretty split. I think it's important to know that the player isn't in the wrong for asking what they feel they deserve. It's up to the management to get them off that number. And it's the same thing with Le'Veon Bell. And I mentioned it last week. Why do we hold accountable the athlete to take the good deal? But imagine yourself in the workplace. And you're doing your thing and you want to earn as much and you know or feel because I don't think they're under I don't think they're ripping him off. I think the numbers are around that 6 million figure, and personally, I think that they shouldn't pay more than that. But I also don't fault the player for asking for that and feeling that that's their worth. Doesn't mean the Leafs need to, but I also don't think that makes him selfish. And I think in the William Nylander case, he knows he's first. He knows he's the one that is leading things off, as the other two big boys, Mitch Marner Austin Matthews get theirs. And I think when you look at it, and you look at the cap crunch that's going to happen, I think you see that if someone has to go, it's going to be William Nylander. I think they're ingrained with Austin Matthews, obviously. They're ingrained with Tavares. They're ingrained with Morgan Riley. They're ingrained with Mitch Marner and Nazem Kadri. That's their core. I think everyone has always said Nylander would be the guy that probably will get dealt. He will fetch you a great return of probable controllable contracts, which is what this team will probably have to do. You just look at the numbers and something's going to have to give. So if you're William Nylander, you're thinking, well, I'm not going to give this to a team that I know will probably end up dealing me in 2 or 3 years. And if I sign an 8-year deal at 6.2 to 6.75, which is what the figure that the Leafs want, David Pastrnak, who William Nylander today is not a better player than. But if you're looking at all those things, you're wondering, if you're him, well, why am I going to do that? Why would he do that? It's not advantageous to him to do that, because if he takes a discount then gets dealt, well then what was that for? So I'm not against this player getting his money. I do understand the Leafs position, and this is a very big contract. This sets the tone for what's going to happen with the other two. And Brendan Shanahan, the president, coming out and saying, everyone's going to have to take a little pay cut if they want to keep this together. But that's not their obligation. They're contracted and they should play out their contract, and then they have the right to do what they want to do. So I just wanted to touch briefly on that William Nylander aspect of things. But the Leafs in general, just the NHL, it's been a fun few days. As always, I think it takes the goaltending and the defense and the systems to get in place a while. I think you see every year that these things are occurring. Scoring's always up really early on, and then tends to trend down as the season goes on, and that's that. But the Leafs looked sloppy in their first game against Montreal. Like I said, nervous, all that jazz. Played much better. It's a long season. It's gonna take a while. Leafs fan, just breathe. I understand and feel your pain. And yeah, just enjoy the ride. It's going to be a fun 82. Hopefully William Nylander gets back. He's an important figure. You see that Austin Matthews is a great player on his own. Imagine if he has some great players as his line mates. So yeah, any questions NHL related, anyone ever wants to come on and talk some Leafs with me? I'm not the most tech savvy guy, but we can figure out a way to Skype you in. Do that. Uh, feel free. I want this to be an interactive. Again, doing this for fun. Doing this, I don't get too many views yet. I appreciate the people that have viewed, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And again, if you have feedback, please let me know. And yeah, that's that for hockey talk for now. But as the season goes on, more can't wait to break some things down more. Great NFL week last week, and that seems, oh my goodness, that seems like so long ago. Um, Games coming down to the last minute. Didn't do so good on my picks. Lost 3 out of the 4 games that I do with my family in a pool in the last minute. Tennessee, Mike Vrabel making bold decisions. Wow, it was just a fun week to watch. The Steelers looking sloppy yet again. Uh, it goes to show the importance of a guy like Le'Veon Bell, and that's nothing to take away from James Conner, but just not the same back, just not the same complete back. So word is he's reporting week 7 or 8. Hopefully that catapults, and everybody relax. As Aaron Rodgers said, the Patriots are alive and well. As a Dolphin fan, I did say, yeah, they're probably going to come down to earth. And sure enough, they did in a big way. So I just think they'll be fine. They're the class of that of that conference until someone beats them. The Rams are looking great. They're just scoring at will on teams. Can't wait to see them tested. You got to see the Chiefs tested a little bit, and Mahomes really showing his moxie. Uh, I just think great game, great effort on on his part to will that team back, and that's what Tyreek Hill not doing a lot the last couple of weeks. So it's been a real exciting. Last season for whatever reason I wasn't as invested. This season I've kind of come back, and I'm real excited. So going into this week's predictions, I didn't get a chance to talk to everybody before, but I would have went with the Patriots. Them at home, a short week. Andrew Luck threw about 60 times. They got the win. But Tennessee and Buffalo. I'm going Tennessee. I think Marcus Mariota. I think that elbow's still giving him problems, but they'll do enough to beat Buffalo, even though it's in Buffalo. Atlanta, Pittsburgh. This is a tough one. Atlanta's lost their 3 games by, I believe, a combined 15 points or something of that nature. I think I researched. Uh, Crazy. So they're a good team. They got to get a win here, but they're a good team that, ironically, is having a hard time closing. That being said, I think Pittsburgh's going to win at home with those terrible towels going. I think AB and Ben get on the same page. Please, for fantasy's sake, hope they do. Jets and Broncos. Broncos traveling to New York. Sam Darnold. 4 games in, up and down, a typical rookie season. I think it's important to know Peyton Manning threw 20 plus interceptions his rookie season and ended up to be a great quarterback. This league is not easy. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 or 4 years. A lot of expectations on players to come in, do things on their rookie deal. It's no longer okay. We're gonna sit you for 2 or 3 years, let you learn, then you'll be ready to go. I'll be picking the Jets in that one at home. Uh, Jaguars, Kansas City. This is the game of the week for me. I'm excited to see what that defense does against that offense. It's a classic offense versus defense. Normally in these games, it's the defense that takes over, but I think the Chiefs, being at home, they are going to take over. They're going to get a good win and keep building towards a hopeful playoff game at home in the playoffs this year. Green Bay and Detroit. I think Detroit again. Uh, I got a few followers of my whole 12. Fill the Bucket podcast, Fill the Bucket One podcast. Please follow on Twitter. The YouTube channel is Fill the Bucket. So please subscribe. Sorry, I'm not a Twitter. I'm new to Twitter, so subscribe, follow. Really would appreciate it. But that being said, Detroit, uneven. That's who they are. I think Green Bay is going to do enough to win that game. That defense is still being figured out in Detroit. Baltimore, Cleveland. Cleveland, they're there. They're there. They're learning how to close games themselves. A lot of people put that on Hugh Jackson. He does have a tendency with play calling and things of that nature to cost his team potential games. I've seen it this season. Baker looked good, did some things, but that's going to be him. He's going to giveth, he's going to taketh away. That team going out west, really impressed. I'd picked the Raiders, but I was very impressed. 14-point lead. They just need to learn how to deal with those moments of success. Normally in this organization, they're having to make the comeback, not keep the leads. So, with that, I'm going to pick Baltimore. I think Baltimore's a decently rounded team. We're going to get good Flacco. We're going to get bad Flacco. In these games, this is a tough picking week because everyone is pretty evenly matched thus far, the teams that are playing. New York and Carolina. Carolina's looked real good this year. Without Greg Olsen might be coming back. I got them. Eli, just don't trust him. Don't trust that O-line. Saquon, doing great, having a great season. But running backs don't tend to win you a lot of games in this league. And the greatest running backs, Barry Sanders. uh, Jim Brown did. Terrell Davis was part of a cog with a great quarterback, a great line, great receivers. Emmitt Smith had Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, that a great line, great fullback in Johnston. It is very rare in which those players win with them leading the way. I apologize. My computer just had a technical difficulty. Uh, I do apologize about that. Just going to go through the remaining games and then we'll wrap up and get on to the turkey fun. Miami versus Cincinnati. Again, tough game. Don't necessarily believe in the Bengals yet. I also didn't believe in Miami going in, being 3-0. You look at the games, not overly impressed. Close game, close teams. Gonna go with the Bengals. Chargers and Raiders. The Raiders grinded out a great win. That being said, I think Chargers are a better team. They got the pieces there. They're so close to making those strides. I'm picking Chargers. And in a game, get your popcorn out, I guess. C.J. Beathard and the San Francisco 49ers versus Josh Rosen and the Arizona Cardinals. I think 49ers. I can't even give you guys an analysis on this one. Not a game I'm going to be following on Red Zone, hopefully. In another good game, Vikings and Eagles. Vikings are in must-win. They don't want to fall too behind in that division. They got to get some wins strung together here, especially if they're going to be home seed. These tiebreakers are going to matter. Vikings, Eagles, Carson Wentz coming back that injury. You can see he's still working his way back. That offense isn't crisp yet. They're working through things. I'm going to go another close game. Philadelphia Eagles at home. Rams and Seahawks. These, even when the Rams were a bad team, was always a tough game. The Rams travel well to Seattle. One of the few teams that do. I'm picking them to win. That Seattle team just isn't the same. To lose Earl, and Earl, who gives his team the burden. Again, you don't condone what he did, but you understand it. What happened, what he feared happened, and they'll probably cut him, and he'll never recoup that money that he felt he earned. I'm going with the Rams. Dallas, the Battle of Texas. Dallas versus Houston. Can't figure out Dallas. When you think you got them figured out, they're just a tough team to figure out. They're very inconsistent. Houston is the same, inconsistent. So I'm going with the home team. I think Deshaun Watson's going to do just enough. Hopkins, they got better playmakers. Clowney was getting after the quarterback. I'm going with the Texans. And in the final game of the week, the Washingtons versus the New Orleans Saints. All right. In the Big Easy. If you have a chance to get to New Orleans, do so. It's awesome. Take my word for it. But in the football game, Drew Brees, he's been flinging this ball around like a madman. I believe Mark Ingram is almost back, if not back this week. Big game for the Saints. I'm taking the Saints at home. Again, this is the type of game Alex Smith has shown that he's not the typical can sling it out with you. He wants to meticulously move down the field, beat you that way. If they can do that, they'll stay in the game. I don't think they can. I'm picking the Saints. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to just say thank you very much for listening to episode 3. We're starting to get in a groove of thing. My editing still sucks, so please, if anyone is out there that is a good editor, help me out. Let me know if you can. I just want to make this thing a great experience. If anyone has wanted to do something like this, I really love dialogue back and forth more with people. I'd love to have someone on, someone talk sports with, but no one else really wanted to do it. So I was like, I can't wait for other people, which is why I'm doing solo shows to start. But I would love to play off somebody and to have those great conversations. I think it will help the product, help everything that I'm doing. But to those that are taking the time out of their day and listening, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys all. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Peace.